It's a stormy night here in Port of Spain, but that is not enough to stop this show. I'm excited about tonight's guest as usual. But before we jump into the details, you guys know we have got to start this show. Hello and good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of The Lipstick Effect. I am Jamila Bannister, your host of this show, and I am a brand strategist for beauty brands, beauty D2C brands, and I'm very excited about this week's episode, as I am for every episode of this show. Tonight, it's a stormy night here in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, because apparently a hurricane is supposed to pass over the island tonight in an hour or two. So tonight I have my dog inside. Yeah, let's hope he doesn't bark and make any noise on air, right? If he does, I'm gonna have to put him outside. and so there are lots of things happening around the globe. Of course, we have a really special guest tonight. I mean, the topics just keep getting juicier and juicier as the weeks roll by. And this one is definitely one you want to tune in for. It's all about pricing and getting the right price for your products on the market because price is the genesis of so many things, your profits, everything, the money that you will enjoy at the end of the day, and keeping your company afloat, right? So you definitely want to get the right price on your product. How do you know what is the right price to charge for a product? Could you charge, if everybody's charging $1, could you charge $1,000? Would people buy it? Well, we will talk about all those things tonight. But before we jump in to speaking with tonight's guest, I just want to tell you a little bit about what's happening around the world. So, as I said, it is a stormy night tonight, and it got me thinking about if you had to, everybody always says to store your important documents and that kind of thing. What about if you had to store your beauty products? What would you do with them? Do you put them in like a Ziploc bag? If certain things can't get wet, if certain things can't take too much heat, if you have to keep it somewhere warm, how are you going to store your products and keep them safe? You want to look good and clean after the storm. So how are you going to store your products? It made me think about product storage tonight. Do you guys have any innovative ideas on how to store your products to keep your things clean, your personal hygiene things that you're probably going to need if you have to go to a shelter, if you have to go somewhere that you may not be close to home? How do you store your stuff? Use Ziploc bags if you have to go anywhere. I don't know what else you could use, to keep things safe. Use containers, glad containers, and anything else that you need to store your personal hygiene products, because those things will be necessary now if you are in a stormy situation. And you know what? Tonight it's here, but these storms, you know how they move. They may land, go all of the islands, land in Florida, land in New Orleans. They may. There was one time I saw a storm, it made it all the way up to New York, right? I believe it did. So you never know where these storms can end up. So you definitely want to get prepared. And for all my peeps here at home in Trinidad and Tobago tonight, be safe, guys. I'm here to keep you entertained at least for the next hour. And we're talking pricing, of course, with the pricing got Maverick Michele Gordon tonight, and she's coming out just now. She's in the back having a little champagne. She will be here soon, right? The other thing I want to talk about is that I saw Honeypot. You guys know the brand Honeypot. They launched a new podcast that is all about sexual wellness. So if you don't know, Honeypot is one of the first brands that actually started creating plant-based feminine hygiene products, and they are unique, different. They are distributed in Walmart all over the United States, and of course, you can find them online. So their podcast is going to be about none other than sexual wellness and the feminine reproductive system and all those kinds of things. And it's going to be fun. So I'm sure it's going to be quite insightful. I think it's supposed to kick off sometime in July. Check that out. I actually saw this news on CEW. which I think you have to be a member to see. But I'm sure this news will be in other places. So check out the Honeypot if you like that brand. You'll probably love hearing from the hosts, and I'm sure the founders, and they will have special guests, professionals on the show to talk about things to do with feminine hygiene, right? And it's pop-up shop season. What pop-up shops are you heading to this summer? Regardless of where you are, I'm sure there's a pop-up shop or an expo or trade show in your city, right? I was checking it out. I saw there was one in Orlando called Premiere. Premiere just went. I know a couple of nail techs who went to Premiere, and we have another one coming up called, I think it's Cosmoprof. It's coming up soon as well. I think that's in Las Vegas. So trade shows are like an excellent place for you to meet new people. You never know who you can meet there. Sell product, of course. I always talk about selling your product. Meet possible people who can help you with distribution, getting into stores, because those are the places they go to see new product. Those are the places they go to see new people, new opportunities, and meet people. So you definitely want to get in there with your product. Get yourself a booth. If you're not able to do a large trade show, because I know sometimes booths can be very expensive, do a pop-up shop. Last week we had our guest on. Her name was Danielle from Delamar Naturals, and she talked about using pop-up shops as one of her um, first lines of business when she recently moved to the United States. I think she lives in New Jersey now. And what she did is that she went onto Instagram and she used hashtags to search for pop-up shops in her area. And she found a few. She did her due diligence. She looked at what they had to offer, and she made her choices on based on that. So you definitely want to start using pop-up shops as part of your marketing push, because you don't want to leave that out. And the last thing I want to touch on before we jump into tonight's interview is tonight I saw a post in a group I'm in, and I found this to be interesting. And you could let me know what you think about this in the comments. So this one person was saying that there are so many brands that are closing, and this is mainly in the United States, and I'm not sure what's happening locally, but there are so many brands that are announcing that they're closing up shop, smaller brands that is, because they just can't afford to be in business anymore. And with the increase in food prices and the increase in gas prices, which I know we are also experiencing here, many of them just can't afford to keep their business. It's no longer viable for them. And it dawned on me something, and I told her, I said, well, you know what? A lot of small businesses, what they do is that they spend their money on developing products, but they do not spend nearly enough time on developing marketing strategies and plans to actually market and sell these products. They don't spend nearly enough time doing that. And I realized something in the beauty industry. A lot of people treat marketing like insurance, right? And you know how insurance people are like, oh, I don't want insurance representatives to call me. But then as soon as you're in trouble, you realize, oh my God, I should have taken that policy. That is how people treat marketing. They want to spend all their money on products, and then they feel good. They rub their bodies in body butter, and they feel nice, and then they smell good. And then when it becomes difficult, like the pandemic that we saw last year, or now where food prices are increasing, and you have to decide, am I going to spend this money trying to get more people to buy this product, or am I going to spend it on food to feed myself and my family? You have to make that decision. You know what I mean? And you have to see, how do I prioritize what I'm going to prioritize. But if you want, like, spending the time building the momentum in the marketing space, you will feel the pinch right now. So I am imploring you all to yes, you need product to sell, but certainly a crucial pillar in business is your marketing, right? I mean, there are six crucial pillars, but I won't get into that tonight. That's a whole different conversation on business development, right? So guys, please don't ignore the things that you need to do to market your beauty brand. Even if it's one thing that's working really well for you, do that one thing and just ride it until the wheels fall off. Do it, do it till you're satisfied. Just keep doing it so that you can make the money that you want, so that you can eventually spread your wings and do more things, right? It's better to focus on one product, one star product that can really make the money for you, rather than trying to develop an entire product line and then you have to kind of squeeze the system to get money to do the marketing. It doesn't make much sense that way. All right. So that is what I have tonight, from with regard to news from around the world. And so now I am going to bring out tonight's guests. If you guys have been following me for any period of time, you would know this beautiful, brilliant lady, Michele Mouton Gordon. She is so many names I have for her. The sales sniper, the pricing princess. So many names I have for her, but she is so experienced in the area of sales and pricing, and she's definitely going to share some gems with us tonight. So Michele, I know you're taking your last few sips of champagne, so refresh your lipstick and come on down. It's time to come on stage. Hi, Michele. Welcome to Lipstick Effect.
Hello, Queen Jamila. How are you? So good to see you.
It's good to see you too, and thanks so much for being here. I'm very excited about tonight's episode, and I'm sure I'm going to get some questions in the comments pretty soon. So, Michele, for those who are looking on who have not had the pleasure of ever meeting you,
Mhm.
could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself?
I will. And thank you, Jamila, for inviting me to the Lipstick Effect. And hello, everyone who is here this evening, investing time in listening to this hour show. I am Michele Gordon. I am with Lanyap Digital Consulting. Lanyap is a Creole term that means a little something extra. And that's what we try to do with this company to help you differentiate yourself from the pack and pull out that little something extra that will help you to be a consistent and sustainable business in the sales and pricing realm. That's what I do, is to help you to bring more money into the top line and yield as much of it down to the bottom line as possible. That is
I
me.
love it. I love it. Giving you that lanyap. Lanyap. So we have Tamara, my people's. Hey, Tamara. Nice to see you. Glad to
Hello
have you.
there.
Just,
Miss Tamara. Hello, my lady. Good to
yeah.
see you.
So I love the so guys, if you were looking on from the Caribbean, you guys already know lanyap. That's a word that we use here all the time. As Michele said, a little something extra, and Michele actually gives a lot extra um, in the work that she does. So um, I'm excited to jump into tonight's discussion. So let's go, Michele. All right. So Michele, a lot of your experience has been substantively in the hospitality industry, but now I know you're working with small businesses to help them in the area of sales and specifically pricing. So tell us a little bit about your experience in hospitality and how that knowledge is being transferred to your work with small businesses.
Sure, absolutely. I have spent the majority of my working career in the hospitality industry. Like many of us that needed to work their way through college, I ended up there just as a means to an end. Frankly, I needed insurance, and I needed money to help to get me through school, and I fell in love with the industry. It fed me. I am from New Orleans. It is a place that many people go to visit on vacation or holiday. Mardi Gras, many people will know, or one of the music festivals. And so it is a city that's built on not just oil, but hospitality. And it pulled me in, and I have remained in the business for quite some time. I moved around a bit. I have worked through a couple of areas, both in the operations piece that would be familiar to most as the people that check you in, those that help you throughout the hotel, the doorman, the bellman, the reservationist that will take your reservation, the PBX operators were all under my purview at one point. And then I moved into what is known in our business as the revenue management teams and the sales teams. Revenue management people are those people that set those high prices that you have to pay either in the restaurant or when you come in for a group or for your rooms. There are a body of people behind the scenes that are looking at market indicators, looking at historical trends to determine what those future prices will be. That's what I did. That was my job. And helping the sales team and working with sales to bringing groups into the hotel and determining based upon the what the market will bear and what our stakeholders were seeking for our prices for overall revenue, finding a way to meet those and making sure that we put heads in beds and kept people employed. So that was my history in the hospitality industry.
Wow. Wow. Heads in beds and keeping people employed. Wow.
Mhm.
That's very cool,
Yeah.
Michelle.
Yeah.
And, I think sometimes when we see these um, prices, we just kind of think, why is this like this, or why is this price that? But not knowing there's so much work that goes into really coming to that final figure, especially if you want to ensure that people get top quality service and the institution remains viable and successful. So I know there's a lot that you definitely put into pricing, but of course, we want to simplify. I know it's simplify tonight for
Mhm.
the beautypreneurs, because when we make all of our money and we want to get into the big league, we're going to come by you for you to do all that fancy pricing for us,
Yeah.
right? So right, so now that we have a sense of where you were, now let's talk a little bit about where you are with Lanya
It is.
Consulting, right?
Mhm.
So I know you're in the small business space, but what are some of the businesses you work with now?
Yeah.
You've worked with since you started working with small businesses.
Well, it's really interesting. I think I may have mentioned this to you last year at some point when we were talking about things. I kind of, being the nosy person that I am, and I'd say in the hierarchy of things, I'm the oldest girl in my family, so I tend to offer up advice or do things with my sister, and that kind of bleeds into my personal life sometimes. That little hierarchical thing that happens, and so when I'm with friends and that are small business owners, we kind of naturally led into it when I would see something and I would offer up a bit of advice, and that turned into many things over the course of years. I that initial conversation, I think I mentioned that I had with a friend of mine in New Orleans, just offering up a piece of advice that earned me dinner that night, and eventual future clients was an attorney.
Yeah.
I have run the gamut on people that I have worked with, attorneys, um, doctors, insurance people, other small businesses, confectioners. I've worked with caterers, photographers. I have run the gamut. School people in school systems. There is, believe it or not, a need for understanding how to sell and how to price a business and how to operate a business and keeping your bottom line intact across every industry. So I have touched a little bit of everything, including a little bit in the beauty industry with a friend who has a body butter business that has branched out a little bit. So my hands have been in many a pot across many an industry in the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Excellent. All right. Okay. So now that you're working with smaller businesses, do you find that you encounter like the same issues around pricing regardless of the industry that you're in?
Yes. I think the largest concern, I can't say concern, but the fear, I guess, would be the biggest thing is understanding how they should price and asking and understanding what their worth is.
Yeah.
Being able to pull their shoulders back and commit to what their business is worth, and putting that out there and asking for it, for fear of failure, for fear of the no, for fear of no one's going to knock at the door. And
Yeah.
so that is a big concern, because we will live and die by that customer that comes through the door. So the natural inclination is to, instead of really putting on paper and really understanding what the true cost and value of your products or services are, throwing something out there and hoping that it sticks and running with that price, not counting the cost on whether or not that is really what the business needs in order to move forward and to meet your goals, or if that's going to be detrimental. I think one of the things that you and I have spoken about is that it is, pricing matters. It will make or break, and it's more than just the price. It determines to whom your business is offered to. it means so much, and it is a linchpin to the livelihood of your business, who you're bringing into your business, and whether or not your business will be sustainable is all, on that little pinhead of pricing.
Yeah, yeah. I saw something, as I saw it, I think I was listening to a clubhouse room where somebody mentioned that it's almost like your mind. Okay, so if you are used to charging, let's say $100 for something, and then somebody comes in and they're like, no, 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 you need to be charging $1,000 for this, and it's almost as though you trust the person advising you, but your mind hasn't caught up to it yet. So like you're still scared to step out of your comfort zone. There's a comfort zone with pricing, and I think it has to do with the way people perceive themselves and perceive their own product. What do you think about that?
That is correct. That is correct. There are feelings that
Yeah,
people attach to a price. And problem one, or maybe two or three, they attach a feeling to that price, which they then internalize, and it speaks to their worth as a person
yeah,
and how that is reading. And it is prevalent, prevalent throughout any business. It does not matter who it is that I run across, whatever industry, that always comes to the forefront. There's ways around it, but inevitably, when we get across, the therapy session of let's pull the feelings out and let's really take a look at the black and white that's involved in this. What's it going to cost you? What are your goals? What is the market going to bear? What's your competition? What's the competitive landscape looking like? We're able to move some of the feelings out of the way and really laser focus on what's really, the point at hand.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as you said, the therapy session, that's necessary before you can even get into the technical stuff. Um, all right. So, what do you find in your experience? Like, three? What are three of the most common misconceptions around pricing your product, or at least you have encountered in your work?
That price is the reason that people buy.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Yes, that should be reasons one, two, and three. Yes. Yeah.
Uh, if you don't lower your price, then people won't buy. Not true.
Yeah.
Absolutely not true. Um, I think the third thing in regard to price, and it actually goes back to actually something that you said a little while ago, and I can't remember what day that you posted it. Pricing is the only thing that's important. You have to have a marketing plan
Yeah.
to promote your products and services. The price is important, but it means nothing if you don't have a plan to market it and bring it to the public to attract the clients to you that will pay your price.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Price, it matters, but it's not the only thing that matters. I think a lot of people. So, like, I was actually having a discussion with Andrea Ragu, and you
Yeah.
may have seen Andrea, and Andrea. We have a tendency. This happens a lot in Trinidad, actually.
Mhm.
When you go to buy from, let's say, a small vendor, let's say a small vegetable vendor or something like that, and you may ask them the price, and they say, well, oh, it's 100, but you can get it for 80, and they're like, why are you automatically just dropping your price because you think that I would pay you your full $100? You don't have to say, well, it's so and so, but you can get it for cheaper. Whether the price is actually 80, or and you feel like you need to say that in order for me to feel I'm getting a discount. You don't have to do that. You know what I mean?
No,
You
there's
can.
so many. It's interesting that you say that. And Andrea is a wonderful person. That's a smart lady. So listen to her. Listen to her. But what I find interesting is like you said, the natural impulse is to reduce price
Yeah.
and negotiate versus understanding why that person is in your sphere to begin with. Why are they trying to buy your products? Why are they even looking at your products? And
Yeah.
is there something else that makes them tick? If it's a product, then what is it about the product that they're needing? What is it? You have hopefully done the homework to understand what your costs are, What's the competitive landscape? What differentiates you from everyone else, and why you're putting that price out there? And how does that help you to achieve your end goal for the month, the quarter, the year, whatever that is? When you have that information in your brain, then that makes it easier for you to stand firm and say, well, no, this is what my product is worth. Now let's have another conversation.
Yes.
Let's talk about what are you trying to solve for? Why are you buying this product? If it's a beauty product, if it's a face wash, why are you seeking it? Let's talk about what this product does for you and why it's worth the price, that my asking price.
Yeah.
And I think more importantly, when it's all said and done, as the person that owns the business that is pushing that product forward, you need to be prepared to walk away and to say no. You don't want my price? You don't think my product is worth the price? I think it is.
Yes.
It was great speaking with you. and let them walk on. Be prepared to let people walk.
Yes. So with that being said now, so what do you think are the three top mistakes that people make around pricing?
What do I think about it?
Yeah, what do you think are the three, like if you had to list three mistakes, what would you say are the three top mistakes?
I'd say if I have to say the three top mistakes is that the first one is um, they automatically negotiate down. One I don't think most people I encounter never ask enough for their product. They rarely are asking enough. That is a therapy session we have to walk through. The second one is that to get the sale, they're quickly discounting. And I think the third thing is that understanding how to speak about your product, to talk about it, to sell, to verbally sell. If you're in front of someone, to verbally sell the product, or in marketing on your website, or when in the product description, saying and putting down in writing what the end customer needs to read, to trust, know, like, and trust you to buy your product. I think so. It's not actually a pricing problem. It's a marketing problem, not a pricing problem.
Sorry, I just had to put the dog out. He was about to start barking. Put the dog out. But yeah, I think a lot of people see pricing as a standalone thing, and it's not. It's a part of a very dynamic system of activity that we collectively call marketing. Is a part of a very dynamic system. You know what I mean? So but
But I think excuse me, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
oh no, no, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the interesting things with small businesses that I find that you don't encounter with big businesses. Big businesses have a plan, a strategy in place, a discounting strategy if they're going to discount. They have an entire strategy and marketing plan against that if they're going to put out a reduced price. There are occasions where they stand on the price, you buy or you don't buy. Move on. You buy or you don't buy. Small businesses automatically believe that they need to discount. That's the first impulse. And I think that's a big mistake. Or they're always in discount mode. So we're teaching, and we're teaching people that we will reduce our price. So just hold out. If you wait long enough, we're teaching them and training them to wait for the reduced price.
That is so true. People will say, I'll wait till Black Friday, or I'll wait till Cyber Monday, or I'll wait till whatever special, or Columbus Day weekend, or whatever the case may be, 4th of July, because I know there will be a sale and I will get it for so and so price. That is so true. You really do train people. When you reinforce certain behaviors, you definitely do give them that habit that, you're a discount brand, and all they have to do is wait long enough and they will get exactly what they want. That's right. So true.
Yeah, and Taylor and Taylor Loft teaches us that thing all the time. I refuse to buy their jeans full price because I know my curvy fit bootcut dark denim wash jeans are going to be on sale probably at the end of the month. If I just give it a couple of weeks, I'm going to get a notification that something's on sale.
I know, it's true.
Why would I pay $90 when you're going to tell me I have a 40% or 60% sale that is going to happen?
Yes, yes. That is so true. Sometimes we live for those discounts. We live for those discounts. I know for sure.
Right. And I would pay full price. I want that jean because one, I don't want to go searching for it. I've tried them on and I figured out that that fits me. Their curvy fit, boot cut, pick a curvy fit is fine. I don't have
Yeah.
to keep trying them on. They're reliable. I will buy them because I don't want to go through the discovery phase of going somewhere else to try again.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's worth you waiting a few weeks to
Mm-hmm.
get
Yeah.
the discounted.
Yeah. But even if they didn't discount it, the lesson that what they're doing, I'm sure they have a whole marketing team and pricing team that takes care of this, and there's a reason behind it and what they're trying to do. But I would pay full price if they didn't, even if they didn't put it on sale, I would buy it.
Yeah.
I would buy it. I'm the person that will buy 3 pair.
Yes. Because after a while, you see, you love the brand, you like it, you can rely on the brand, you become accustomed, you trust them now. So whatever the prices you would pay, because you know those are that's your brand. That's like with me, like regardless of what goes on, I must get through some DSW, and there are certain brands I will always buy, because I'm like, I know it will fit well,
Right.
I know it will be comfortable, I know it's a strong pair of shoes, and so I have no problem spending my money. But if you want to give me a discount, I mean, I'll take it.
Right. Right. So,
Yeah.
and that's part of it too. And pricing is a mistake, and it's an odd mistake that people don't understand, and that's part of the education process. Know your audience
Yeah.
and sell to your audience that you want,
Yeah.
not necessarily the ones that are buying from you, because the wrong people you could be inviting the wrong people in by the price you put out there,
Yeah.
or other conversation. But put that price out there, market to the right client, market to the right audience, and they will come. But you have to market to the right audience that will pay the price that you want for your product.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very true. Okay, so I actually got a comment on one of my Facebook posts sometime last week, and it was around pricing. So a person was saying that there is some cultural nuance when it comes to pricing beauty products, right? So she was saying, for example, she can't sell a beauty product like a soap here in Trinidad and Tobago, and price it as though it's in the US. So, like for example, 15 or 20 US dollars,
Mhm.
which will translate to probably about 80, probably $100 TT here, right? And but I said I disagree, and I said I think anything can be priced at any number with the right marketing. What do you think?
I think you're correct. It is, you have to understand your audience and who you want to bring into your business.
Yeah,
So I don't care where you live, there's an audience for your product typically. So are you going to where your audience is? Are you only sticking within a place that you know does not meet the need for your product or
yeah,
service? And that's important to understand. It is, and you have to market to that person and understand the psychographics, understand what makes them tick, understand who your profile customer is, and market to that client because they will buy. There's a whole other sales strategy that needs to go along with it. However, if you market to the right person, that sales strategy is built in, they will pay the price that you're asking. I think think about, I was looking up, it was L'Oreal. That's who it
mhm,
was. Think of the number of product lines that L'Oreal has. That's they sell, a facial wash under SkinCeuticals. I want to say when I learned like Vichy is with them and La Roche-Posay.
yes. And
And I'm sure there's a bunch of,
CeraVe is their brand
yeah,
too.
CeraVe. So there's all of these different things at different price points that meets the need for different people, and
Yeah,
they market differently to each one of those audiences.
yeah,
We as small business owners can learn lessons from big business
yeah,
by following their lead.
yeah,
They're doing it for a reason successfully.
yeah,
We don't know unless you've been around and you've been in the circle to understand that's under the same brand family, that it's just a different branch of the brand. But we've all seen those products out there, and some of them I know I have flinched when I've looked at SkinCeutical prices sometimes, and then I was like, oh, I had no idea CeraVe and La Roche-Posay. I'm like, I didn't realize they were all under the same brand. I go to Target all the time. That's why I ended up buying a couple of the things. So we just need to study and understand what the market will bear, but go to attract the client that you want that will pay, not just what's around you, and beat the price point that that person may want to have. Understand who your client is and market to that, and stop inviting people into your business that you don't want.
That is a word, Michelle. That is a word. Yes, and that's so true because, it's so funny. Recently, I think last week, I was my mother asked me to get a pair of sneakers for her online. So I took her to Zappos and I'm like, look at these shoes. And then she saw one for probably like around $80, $90.
Mhm.
And then she said, what about that one? And I said, oh, this one is $36. She's like, oh, too cheap. I don't want it. Immediately she's like, too cheap. That's not good. So giving people the cheap can really put you in like, that's low quality. I don't expect much from that. You know what I mean? And you're so right with the L'Oreal. I actually did not know CeraVe was a L'Oreal brand until very recently. And somebody else on the show um was who worked L'Oreal, who was part of the team that put up one of these CeraVe products. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that. And I love CeraVe. And it's expensive here. We buy, but I buy it. It's because it's nice. I like it. You know what I mean? And it's more than $80, $50 or $20 US, at least for us. You know what I mean? So yeah, people do definitely buy, and it does create a perception in people's mind, brand perception for sure.
Brand perception. What your mom just said is really interesting. She just validated something too, because there are in different uh, buying personas. The
Yeah,
personality of the person that's buying the product. So when you're creating, I guess many people have heard of avatars, but what's your ideal person for your client, your particular product or service? They might vary pending your product or service, but what does that person look like and what makes them tick? And your
yeah,
mother just said something that's really interesting, that a girlfriend of mine just said when we were looking at places to visit, is that price will make you flinch in different ways. Hers was like, oh, that's cheap, I'm not good. She associated that low price with lack of quality.
yes,
And on sometimes the opposite, and you get the other reaction like, oh, that's too high, I don't want to pay that.
yes,
And what I'm thinking as I hear those things is missed opportunity. One, they're marketing to the wrong person
mhm,
and the wrong price, and the right words didn't hit the recipient to
yeah,
make them want to lean in a little further, read a bit more, and say, well, let me consider it.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Didn't market to them.
It's so dynamic. All right. Okay. So for viewers who are watching, what I see a couple of people are on tonight. I saw Tamara sent us some hearts earlier, sent us some love. Thanks so much, Tamara. So we are here with Miss Michele Gordon, CEO, Lanyap Digital Consulting. She is a, a brainiac and a brilliant one in the area of sales and pricing specifically. And she's talking to us this evening about pricing your product for success and all of the factors that could affect the pricing of your product, and of course it's your perception of your product on the market. So now, Michelle, I want to jump into a little bit more detail in terms of the marketing element, right? So let me ask you, so at what stage of your brand's development, like let's say, I want to develop this body butter, and I'm thinking that this is before, I want to actually have the physical product. Like at what stage of the brand development should I start thinking about the pricing strategy, if I'm looking to launch a new product onto the market?
Oh, it's one of the first things that you should be doing when you are developing the actual product.
Mhm.
There's a lot of homework that you need to do, and it starts with whatever it takes to pull that product together. You need to detail out, have a mechanism to understand the cost that goes along with that,
Mhm.
understand the labor that goes along with it, the number of people, the your time that it takes, the whatever it takes to bring that product to market, and what you want your price and what net revenue you want to have from it. All of that needs to be factored in. So very, very early on in the process, you need to start counting your costs, your expenses, And then what are your goals? What is that revenue that you're trying to get uh, to understand? So very, very early in the process, you need to begin thinking about pricing. It starts with your expenses. It starts with your labor.
Yeah, that's so good because I I was looking, I mean, again, in another Facebook group, and one of the things the person said who's in charge of the group says that when she's working with people to launch their beauty brand, she would normally ask them like what price point they would like to sell their product at. Like where would they like to, or somebody said, where would you like it to sit in the market? And then
Mhm.
um, she lets them like work their way
Price
back from there.
engineer.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about that methodology?
Well, that's one way of looking at it. That's one way of looking at it. I'm not going to say it's a wrong way to look at it. It's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It is, there's not a linear way to it, Jamila. Let's
Mhm.
start there. There's not a linear way to get to it. Reverse engineering it is one way. Uh, I would question pulling a price out of the sky.
Right. Right.
That process requires some modification from the beginning because you're yanking something out of the sky, uh, and that's okay as long as you get to a point where you're factoring in what the market will bear, what your competitive set is doing, and what your prices are. What's your end goal, and where you're trying to go. You've got to consider those factors in. What are your expenses? Your total expenses have got to be the bottom line of everything. Most people that are in the beauty industry are not in a nonprofit organization. They're not, a nonprofit. They're here for profit.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand what you have to to keep your lights on, to keep things moving, your prices have to start minimally there and build upon from that place. So where do you go from there? When I'm working with my clients, we start with understanding expenses first. We go through the expense calculator that I have to say, let's go through the very detailed and often painful exercise for small business owners, because accounting is typically not their forte. Pricing and sales is typically not their forte. So they tend to avoid it like it is the plague. Like their mom's making them eat peas and they don't want to eat peas because they hate it like they hate, it's like saying eat dirt.
Yeah.
So but the but with the why in it for people to do it is you really understand what it costs to do business, what your base cost is. Then you're able to say, if you want to have $100,000 goal, how many products do you need to sell? You get to build everything upon it. So you first understand your expenses, have that gulp moment, and you get a little uncomfortable, like I didn't realize this cost this much to even buy the products. And then factor in your time and put a cost against your time and all the labor that's involved in this. And then you're able to then look at what the market is bearing. Can you ask for that price? Are you okay with it, pending where your clients are? And how many of each one of these is it going to take for you to meet your goal? You've got to, but it has to start with how much it costs for you to even create the product. Or if it's a service, your time. How do you value your time, and putting a price against that? How do you value your time? And then figure out your pricing from that point. But that has to be the bottom line, unless you want to operate in the red all the time.
Unless you want to operate anywhere, in the bad.
Operate in the red, like in the black versus
In
the red,
red.
in the negative, in the negative, in the
Yes.
negative. I've had a couple of people who were doing that. They were pricing themselves and not really understanding the additional cost that came with, the packaging, the nice little, they wanted to do something, have this very upscale packaging, which is okay. If this is the look and feel that you want to have in the statement that you want to make about your business, fine, absolutely okay. But how much does that cost? And will the price that you put out there cover that cost? And that answer was no. They did not. They were working in the negative, and didn't really understand that until we went through every piece of what it did, what it cost to put that product together and to bring it to market and to get it to the end user.
Yes.
Everything that was involved. So you have to begin to put that together and then understand the competitive landscape and understand whether or not you can price yourself in that place and ask for your worth and your value. How does that go to meet your goals?
Yeah.
And if you have more than one product, what's that product mix? How many of, product, the one body butter, if it's, one body butter and another of whatever size do you need to sell in order for you to make the profit margin that you've dictated that you want to have and to yield the bottom line, net revenue that you're looking for. All of that has to be done. I go through that exercise often with my clients and using the profit margin calculator and saying, hey, let's take a look at this and let's iron this out. Let's iron out for service-based businesses. How many hours does it take to do this? To do the analysis. If you're working with multiple third-party people to bring a service together, how many times do you have to meet with them to do the prep? How many hours is it going to take to do that? Are you factoring in, if you're doing things over Zoom, how much does that cost? All of those tiny costs need to be factored in and just put a price to the hours and the number of days. Is that going to take you away from working with someone else if you're putting that out there? So I'm thinking about the beauty people who are maybe, I think about New Orleans during Mardi Gras time, where we have these Mardi Gras balls and we're always going to someone to do our makeup and do makeup and hair. So if we're taking ourselves away and going to one person versus them having them come to me, that time travel to that location to do that, working with that one person, I'm now taking an hour away going back and forth, let's say, just as an example. That's 2 hours of time travel that's taking me away from working with someone else. Did I factor that into the cost that I'm giving to that person to come to their location?
Yeah.
Odds are people aren't factoring that in. I've run across that several times. Are you factoring those things in? Are you bringing your own products to them, your tools of the trade to do it, or are you going and they have the tools, the makeup or whatever, and you're using theirs and applying it, and they just want your expertise? Are you factoring these things in when you're doing it? Are you accounting for and asking for your value and attributing those things in a high demand time where you can ask for more?
Listen, oh my gosh, Michelle, you're pushing a whole word. It just sounds like when we have carnival here, right? Everybody wants to look good. Right. Everybody wants to have these very extra looks with these extra long lashes and there's all these diamonds and all these encrusted faces and all that kind of thing. And also the events, because carnival is like Mardi Gras for us, right?
Right.
And all of the events, as you said, these balls, we have these fetes, these parties, and sometimes, you want to get your face done. And like a new makeup artist or somebody who has to budget in all those things, how are you going to keep and take into consideration? And sometimes the hours people are going to these parties at 5 a.m., right? These breakfast parties starting at 4 a.m. and they want to look good from beginning to end, right?
Right. It is the same thing. It is the same. Yeah. Mardi Gras and Carnival, the routine is very similar. Yeah. And I have had a couple of conversations with people in the business down there. And just as a side question of, well, how are you doing your business? Are you factoring these things in? Yeah. And if it's pen and paper that you need to pull out to do it, if you're not an Excel person or if you don't have a calculator, reach out to me. I do have 2-3 calculators that you can use. But it is in your best interest to count the costs. And perhaps seasonally, you may have to do it seasonally if you're in a service-based business. Product-based, that's an entirely different story. There's some seasonality to that as well, but you can factor in your seasonality to ask for your worth. I think of Christmas in July, Tamara, we speak about this all the time.
Yeah.
What are you doing during the big, season there? It's called Black Friday for a reason.
Yeah.
It's called Black Friday for a reason. Are you planning into it and asking for your worth and understanding what has to happen to churn and burn during that period? Or are you just keeping things as status quo? It is something to think about. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's not difficult. It just takes focus.
Yeah.
It takes focus.
All right. So Michelle, I have two fictional scenarios here.
Oh Lord. Okay.
And I would explain what they are, and maybe you could tell me what is the what the issue is inside of here, right?
Okay.
So because and these are inspired by things I've heard before, and things people would have experienced. So the first is that um so I have a skincare line, and everyone loves it. It sells like hot bread. Everybody wants a piece. But I'm still struggling to make a profit monthly. Right. So everybody's buying the product. It's not like you have an issue with selling, but you're not quite sure why you just can't. You're barely passing the profit line every single time. What do you think the issue is there? Because I'm sure there are people who are looking on who probably have that problem. Or the possible issue.
Possibly two. The first would be is when they price the product, did they really factor in every expense?
Mm-hmm.
Every expense. Every expense. Are you detailing out every expense, including labor?
Yeah.
Your time, including labor. If they are doing that, and you said the product is moving fast without a problem,
Mm-hmm.
my initial gut reaction is the price is too low.
Yeah.
If they're not getting, if the product is moving quickly, odds are they can increase their price.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few things I'd like to look at. I would say look at first because they are, and the third thing is, are they attracting the right people who would pay that additional price as well?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if they are selling fine, the product is good,
Mm-hmm.
because they likely have return buyers
Mm-hmm.
that are coming back. That would be another question. Is it still first-time buyers, or are there repeat people that have coming through? But I would dare say that the price can be raised. It's too low, and the marketing, there's a different client that they can go after that would pay that higher price.
Yeah. Yeah. So if that is you, check your pricing. It probably is too cheap. Check your pricing. And we don't know. That's just a fictitious situation, but there are people who experience that. So
Yeah,
so,
they
so
do.
what about this one? So right, let's say I'm at a pop-up shop, right? And I have a lot of people coming into my booth. They seem very enthused about the products, but when I tell them the prices of my product, they politely say, okay. And then they move to another booth and some buy it from the other booth. Even though the prices are similar, the other booth gets the sale. What do you think could be the problem there?
Did they lead with price? If you lead with price, it's going to be about price. My suggestion would be, this is when the sales component comes to play. It is, people buy because there's a need. They're in pain and they want to alleviate that pain.
Mm-hmm.
So the words that we're speaking in a pop-up shop, I'm assuming that's what, they're having some type of conversation with them. As you said, they're talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Lead with make it about them. What are they seeking? Why? What products do they use? What do they like about those products? And then you speak to your products and how your products meet that need.
Mm-hmm.
We need to speak to their need, not the price. If you lead with price, you're going to make it about price. When they went to the next place, what were they talking about? What made them, if you're observing from an unemotional place and you're trying to understand why did they buy from them? What was that other vendor saying or showing that made them say yes? What did they meet in that person's yes trigger?
Mm,
All of us have a yes trigger. What is it? It
mhm.
wasn't just price. That person met a need that they had. If their prices were similar, what did they say that you didn't say?
Yeah. I love that. Your yes trigger. I need to ask people that more often. What is your yes trigger? I like that a lot. So
What's the
what
yes
is
trigger?
your customer's yes trigger? I think Tamara told me the guest I interviewed last week, she said she knows her customers' love language and what they love to hear. So when they hear from her, it's like, oh, music in the air, they're ready to just put out that money and buy, regardless of the price. So I like that. So work on refining, on learning and understanding what the yes trigger is, I suppose, in that situation, and I suppose understand why they would flinch, as you said. What what causes them to flinch? And it may not even be anything to do with the price. It may be other things. You know what I mean?
They didn't hear what made them say yes. And what I mean when I say that is, if it is a lipstick,
Yeah.
is it long lasting? Will the pigment move off of their face? Like, does it bleed?
Yes.
Those things that would make you say no versus say yes. So what's going to make me say yes? Is it long? What are those things that people typically look for? Is it a long lasting lipstick? Is it something that's going to bleed? Am I going to be able to get it off when I need to get it off? Is it made with certain products? Those things that are selling and marketing things, but things that people are seeking. And the only way you're going to know that is by engaging and asking the question.
Yeah.
In a very social way, a soft way, not hard selling, because I know, sales is a bad, dirty four-letter word to a lot of people. We sell everything, but sales goes along with the pricing. So it was never really about price. We just never met their yes.
Yeah.
We never said the words that make people say yes. So what are I don't want to say catchphrases, but what are the things are important that are probably sitting on a piece of paper that's right there or on the box of the product that speaks to those things, but are we wanting them to just read it, or are we verbalizing it to say and show somewhere these are all natural products? Or with Danielle that you had last week, remember she spoke about specific things of being, animal, free
Yeah.
product.
Yes. Vegan. Yeah.
What are those triggers that are going to make someone say yes? Or if
Yeah.
it's something that helps, I would say with me, I look for products that help with eczema. I have an eczema issue,
Mhm.
or dry skin, or anti-aging.
Yeah.
Whatever those things that make people stop and say, "Well, no, they had this. They met my need. They said it or wrote it. It was somewhere visible for me to see to say yes." Products are just think about the things we do when we make decisions. We make them in nanoseconds. I
Yeah.
mean, think about the number of scenarios you go through your head, and you make it quickly in nanoseconds. That person's doing the same thing in comparison pricing.
Yeah.
They're just looking for the yes trigger. Who is anticipating my need, asking for the sale, or asking why, the FAQs are there for a reason. Bring forth those FAQs and state them, and take price off the table, because if you lead with price, it's always going to be about price.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Never leave that. Yes, it's true. Especially if you really want to sell people on the value of your product. That's so so true. All right.
What's your
So
lanyard? Sell them the lanyard,
what
what's your lanyard?
is your lanyard? What is that extra, that special, that gold does, that magic dust that you just sprinkle on, like Salt Bay? What is that for you? That's so true, Michelle. That's so true. What is your lanyard? Always ask that question. Okay, so you know what they say, right? More money, more problems. So, what are some of the more, like for the more experienced entrepreneurs? So, let's say they've been doing their thing for a while. What are some of the issues around probably selling and pricing that you would see for more established businesses as they probably try to scale or expand their business a little bit more?
I'd say if they found what they perceive as their sweet spot in pricing, it's really knowing the right customer to attract to their business, and not the profile that you have for your client today that meets your pricing need may change over time. It may change as the market conditions change.
Mm.
We are going into a recession soon. Or if
Mm.
we're, for some people that are, not in, I just had this conversation in a clubhouse room um, a couple of weeks ago, and that the entire thing was frankly about pricing in recessions and how to market and price your business and to survive inflation and a recession, that we're living in. How do you walk that fine line to do it? And I think for more established businesses, they don't want to fix what's not broken or what they perceive as not broken. And they don't, so to take a chance to modify something, maybe price, or as they're trying to scale to attract more people to bring in, they're, they fear, stepping out to make that move and to make that happen and to modify what they've been selling, the way they've been talking about it, the way they've been marketing to it and moving with the times. I think if there's any suggestion that I would have is that you have to always be prepared to be nimble. You have to be willing to change. Times are changing. People's buying habits are changing. We The available opportunity for you to attract to your business is much larger than you think it is. We know our little circumference, and we might expand just a little bit more, but there are millions of people out there that we can market to that might not be in your country that is an available customer to you. And if you're looking to scale and you are a seasoned business, then those are things that you're going to have to consider in your strategy, as you're trying to scale your business and grow in a recessionary, inflationary time period. So be prepared to modify and step out of your space. I think the second thing that I find interesting that isn't, especially for those small businesses that are more than a party of one, where you have multiple people either in your business or adjacent to your business that you're working with, that you're partnering with. One of the things that doesn't happen enough is giving that information of what your strategy is for your business. If you're increasing your pricing or you're trying to scale, or if there's a specific customer that you're trying to attract to your business, sharing that business with the people that will be responsible for what I call the sales continuum. Once they're in, keeping them in. Once they've invested in your business and they've said yes to you and given you the money, somebody has to fulfill that order and keep them happy. If it's a product or if it's a service, return them in. It's incumbent upon you to share your vision and who that profile customer is and the expectation with all of those people who touch that client, because they actually will be the one persons that will be responsible for bringing them back in, keeping them buying again, upselling to them, and recommending your product to someone else. So either if you bring them in and they're living through the vision that you have, it's going to seep through all of their communication with that person everywhere it goes. And if you don't, that's going to tell as well. People are not going to buy. They're not going to recommend. They're not going to come back again and buy again. They're just going to move on. And the one thing that COVID has taught us is that it's okay to shop and it's okay to try someone new.
Yeah.
I think one of the stats that I've read is that it is in excess of 60% of people who will be willing to not only shop around, but to try another product or service, because we taught them to do it, because in many instances the original product wasn't available.
Yeah, exactly.
And that taught people that even if it's available, well, let me try, let me look somewhere else. So you have to, it's incumbent upon you to share that information and to live beyond the initial sale. You have to look beyond that close to make sure that you keep them in your sales continuum, to bring them, attract them back, and then be your advocate, evangelist for your business.
Yeah, that's so true, because when you do that, the price tends to the pricing tends to be less and less a factor in terms of them purchasing,
Mhm.
and it becomes more about you being a part of this community, this ecosystem, this family, this brand, you tend to want to support them and be. It's very hard, especially if you are if you're living outside of the what I would call, when you do a what do you call them, boy? I can't remember the type of charts you call them, and you're doing a cluster in terms of the most frequent type of person that you would find, right? Or you're an outlier. That's the word. You're an outlier for a particular thing. So you may not be you may be that person who has eczema, right? Which is a special case. Or you may be that person who has a dry scalp. You're an outlier. When you find that product that works for you, you are not going to change. You are not going to change because you feel safe for this. It doesn't give you any reactions or anything like that. You are not, I could tell you that I've been buying shoes on the same website for the last 10 or 11 years. That's DSW. I very rarely go outside of them, you know, unless it's Amazon or something. But once I find it, I don't shift, I don't switch. So yes, what you're saying is extremely true.
It is. It is. I told someone, I said, you have to pry this product out of my dying last breath hands. I said, there's no way. I said, it took me forever to find something that works. I'm writing this until it's time for me. I need a backup plan for when I'm supposed to eventually cycle out to give my skin a break with this and come back to it. And same thing with, hair products, same
Yeah,
thing. Forget
yeah,
about it. I will stock up to make sure I don't run out, or if there's a shortage, that I don't have to worry about it because I'm loyal. I
yeah, yeah, yeah,
People want to be loyal to you.
yeah,
And as you mentioned scale and the seasoned person and not being complacent and not assuming loyalty and
yeah,
assuming that someone is going to remain loyal because you think you've hit that sweet spot for product.
yeah,
People are going to try someone else,
yeah,
get accustomed to it. So you always have to, it is no doubt cheaper to maintain a client than to acquire one.
yeah,
No question about that. The revenue that comes through to the bottom line is much more. A returning client is more likely to stay with you longer and upsell. They'll buy more or buy a different product, an adjacent product, because they like and trust what you offer to them.
yeah,
However, in these times, we should be prepared for someone to say, yeah, I need to tighten the belt a little bit. Perhaps I need to find a similar product that is different. Or maybe instead of purchasing for a 6 months, let me buy one instead of buying two.
yeah,
We have to be prepared for that. And that client may remain with you, but not by the same level. So you will naturally need to attract someone else in
yeah,
and market to them and keep that door open and broaden that, widen that net of people that you're communicating with and be visible in front of them. It's not, there's so much that's attached to a price of something that you in these times we have to be really concerned about in selling ourselves. We all are selling ourselves every day, all day, from the moment we open our eyes. We're selling something. I know that sounds really,
no, it's true, it's true.
it's true. People don't want to believe that, but in your personal life, when you open your eyes, you are selling something about you. You're
Yeah,
negotiating with somebody for something about something. And
absolutely.
and we've honed that skill in different ways. We have to be prepared for people to walk away. Some of
Yeah,
them may walk away temporarily and come back. Others may walk away for a while. One of the biggest places I think about is some of these subscription models, because I think this is something that is absolutely hitting the beauty business right now, is the subscription model. Go back and look at the statistics on subscription models. They're strong, but people will cycle out eventually. And
yeah,
understand
yeah,
what
for
that
sure.
cycle out is. Understand what that cycle out is, and understand and have a strategy against that, because they might not cycle out if you have a strategy to have them buy at a lower cost product. I
Yeah,
think of I think of my friend that has the body butters. I mean, I believe there's can't remember if it's 3 sizes or 2 different sizes, but it's a matter of offering the right thing to the person for them to remain in your sphere, and that
Yeah.
you have to consider that you don't have to give in your price. You may have to change the type of product that they're buying from you in order to maintain them as a returning client. And the client that you're seeking, same thing. They may enter your world at your smaller product and then eventually buy up to another size if you have multiple sizes. That might be actually a product offering. I've seen that happen a couple of times where someone that had that as a gift item that they put into a package, just as a gift bag, and it ended up being an entry level product for them to get someone in the event that the customer ended up eventually buying up. So
Yeah.
it will require you as a tenured business person or someone that's been around a little bit to start thinking a little bit outside of the box,
Yeah.
or to extend your business in a way that you may not have thought about before, and to not learn, pay attention and learn something new from other companies that are around you or in adjacent types of businesses that you may learn from and adapt some of their practices into your world.
For sure. For sure.
Mhm.
So, all right. So we're a little bit over time. So I'm gonna have to,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
yeah. So you see how it goes, right?
You're
So,
having a good time. Okay.
so we had a comment from Janelle. She said, "Good night, ladies.
Good
Good
night.
night, Janelle. Good evening. How are you?"
Mhm.
So that was a very, very good lesson in terms of people cycling out and coming back in. I think people need to be prepared that that people will leave, and don't take it personally, because I think some people do take it personally that people unsubscribe or they um they decide they don't want your product anymore. It's okay, these things happen. People's life stage changes, their needs change, their health changes. So many things change, and the things that used to work for them at one stage in their life doesn't work for them anymore. And that's fine. You just look for fresh people to bring into your system.
ABC, always be closing. You know,
Always be closing. Yeah, exactly. ABC. So Michelle, as we bring the curtains down, now that we understand a little bit more about pricing, and really, I think it's important that we open up our vision a lot more to see the things and see the hidden costs and little things, even the things that you may not be paying yet, but keep in mind that they may be coming up. What type of mindset should we be approaching pricing from when it comes to pricing your product, pricing your beauty product?
I think that the biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask for your worth.
Yeah,
That is one of the most important things. Don't walk into a discount mindset. It's
yeah,
unnecessary to have a discount mindset.
yeah,
Even in a recessionary time, don't have a discount mindset. Understand, if you know your numbers, you know your expenses, if you know why your product is priced a specific way,
yeah,
you'll be able to sit firmer and pull your shoulders back a little bit easier when you know the rationale behind what your price is, and go after the client that will pay your price and market to that person and speak to that person, inviting them into your world. And when you really understand why, the whys behind the way you're pricing, all of the noise moves out of the way. You really begin to have tunnel vision, and those people that are your people suddenly appear in front of your face. You know who these people are, and you will quickly understand the triggers, the words for those that are not your people. You know
the
them
yes
right away.
triggers.
You don't.
No, the yes triggers. Yes. Okay, Michelle. So I think that brings us to the end of our discussion tonight. But before we go, I want you to tell us a little bit about your calculators, some of your products, and so on, so that because of course the pricing process could be a little bit complex, but you've obviously simplified it with your tools. So tell us a little bit about the tools
We
and
can.
when we could actually see them and get them.
Thank you for asking, your darling, for asking. It is. I started in this business in the consulting side, simply providing services, and the calculators that I use were part of what I did in the services. And as we have discovered in a couple of things that they're actually products that I sell. I start with an expense calculator that is a fairly simple plug and play product that helps you to outline all of your products to understand both your monthly and your annual costs and which ones are recurring and which ones are just one-time charges. We move on from that, pending if you're a service or a product seller, a calculator that helps you to understand what your prices are, what prices you need to sell, and how you can calculate the hours that go along with it, and what your core cost needs to be, and what your time investment going to be with a client, especially if they're a service-based business. And the jewel of all of them, I believe, is the profit margin calculator. This is the one that allows you to understand what your expenses are, what your price is for your products, and what is it going to take for you to earn the money that you need to earn on a monthly and annual basis, including your expenses, to get down to the bottom line that you're looking to get to on a monthly and an annual basis. So it is exactly what it says. It's a profit margin calculator, and that is can be found if the website, go to Lanyap Digital. I think it's that. Message me there. I'm here on Facebook and Instagram, on LinkedIn. You will be able to buy those products from me starting tomorrow from the website. But if you want to DM me in the meantime, you can. Very affordably priced. And if you're someone that is in need of help in understanding how to price your products, get to that place and understanding how to sell your products from your seat and bring that to market, I'm happy to speak with you. On the website here in Facebook, also in Instagram and LinkedIn, there's a link to book time with me. There's a session that you can book initially. Let's talk and let's understand if there's a place that we can meet in the middle and move forward. And from that point, if we can, then I will move forward and quote pricing to you that's specifically for your needs, either in a pricing realm or selling, or my holistic package that combines both. So.
Awesome. So, guys, if you want to have Michelle come and take all your pricing stress away, she's going to definitely do that. Right. So, you can start with the calculators, which you can get on her website, lineupdigital.com. That's what it
Yep,
is, right?
that's correct.
Right? And as Michelle said, these calculators will be available from tomorrow for purchase. She spent a lot of time and effort creating them for you to make them simple. I have seen a preview. They are really very detailed, and they will have you thinking about a lot of things that you may not realize you need to be accounting for in your business, right? So it's not just about pricing is very dynamic. The calculators help a lot, trust me, right? So if you would like to get in touch with her, you can send her an email at Michelle at lanyapdigitalconsulting.com, right? You can hear Michelle speak on Clubhouse. You can follow her, Michele Gordon. She speaks typically on Thursdays in the Digital Thinkers Club. She always has something very insightful to share around the topics in that club, right? And in those rooms. And also, you can follow her for her insights on Instagram at Lanyap Digital Consulting. And you can also find her on Clubhouse, right? Same Michele Gordon, right? So
Yes.
Clubhouse.
Michele Gordon, LGC. I'm Michele Gordon everywhere. Michelle with one L. I was
Yes,
deprived of one L, so I only have one. But,
as you can
but
see, right? So, I mean, Michelle, fantastic insights tonight. Thank you so much for coming. And for all the people who will be watching this on the replay, put hashtag replay so we know you were here, and let us know what you think of the discussion, and share this video with somebody who you know could really use it, who may be struggling with their pricing, or who may be overwhelmed, or you see them selling but they could never seem to have enough money. This is probably what they need, right? So check out the website, get a calculator first. It probably will open up your eyes very much, so you can see, wow, I didn't even think about these things as factors in my pricing. All right. So before we go, I just want to say thank you, Michelle, for coming on this week. And I want to remind you guys that the ebook, if you are looking to start getting into pop-up shops, where is the ebook? I had it here, but it's not here anymore. My bad. The ebook that I have, how to get yourself how to monetize yourself at pop-up shops. So if you have an expo, if you had a festival, if you had a trade show, and how to really make the most of your booth, your presence. The ebook is just $9. It's available on my website. Here it is. Here it is. I just saw it. Right. So stand out, get the ebook. It is on my website, thebalancerbranding.com/ebook. It is there for you. You know it's pop-up shop and beauty show season. You definitely want to get that. All right. So thanks so much everyone for joining us this week on this episode of The Lipstick Effect. And I want to encourage you to take something from tonight and go and examine your pricing. If you're feeling overwhelmed, reach out. Check Michelle. If you can't get Michelle, check me and I'll make sure that you get on to her. And of course, you could tune in right here next week where we will have another episode of the Lipstick Effect, where we will talk more beauty, more business, and more branding. All right, guys, take care and have a great rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.